major FOMO, he used to call her kitten. Kim, there are people dying, because Katniss would never. They walk away from her every single time she asks about this capital city. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Chia, and today I'm going to be reading a bunch of hype romantasy slash sort of like dystopian romance kind of books. I get a lot of my book recommendations from like Bookstagram, booktube, booktok, just like everyone else does, but these books have been the ones making the rounds for the past month or so. A lot of people have been getting arcs of these books or just completely raving about these books, so I'm here to tell you if they are worth it or not and my honest opinions. The first book that I already started is Direbound. Direbound is by Sable Sorenson. I believe it's written by two different authors who are like best friends and they decide to write a book together. I already started this book. I'm already about 221 pages in, on chapter 21. And the next book I want to pick up in this book that I felt major FOMO is Silver Elite by Dani Francis. This is projected to be like the next biggest thing on BookTok. It's like the same levels as Fourth Wing, I'm hearing. It's not the same as Fourth Wing, it's more of the vibes of Fourth Wing and the same feeling you get when you can't put down a book. And I've heard nothing but great things about this, and I've heard so many positive reviews. I'm interested to see what I feel for it because I'm trying not to go into this book with too many high expectations because I don't want to get disappointed if I don't like it. That's why I like really hesitate picking up overhyped books. It's been all over my BookTok and Bookstagram. There's no way that I can't pick this book up. This book apparently is giving like, if you love dystopian books, sort of like Divergent. I only read maybe the first book and I watched the movie, but otherwise I remember zero things about it. So I'm so excited to read about this one. I see that Dystopian is trying to make its comeback, which I am absolutely loving. Ever since Hunger Games, there hasn't really been any dystopian books that I loved, and that's been like years. And I absolutely loved Hunger Games, and the moment I read Hunger Games, I like binged every single dystopian book that was out there. I read Maze Runner. Maze Runner was a really good dystopian book too, and so I'm ready to get back into the dystopian books. And this book is sort of labeled as fantasy dystopian romance, but what I've been hearing is that it's more dystopian, but we shall see. And the last book that I want to pick up is Shield of Sparrows by Devney Perry. Apparently Devney Perry, I've been hearing about her name a lot. She wrote books like the Indigo Ridge series. I don't remember what that series is called. I have yet to read any of her books. I keep hearing about it, but I'm not really big on contemporary romance, so I don't really pick up a lot of contemporary romance. This is her first romantasy book, and it is also making the rounds. It came out the same day as Silver Elite. Throughout this whole entire week, that's all I saw in my like social media is people picking these two books up. Apparently Walmart came out with a special edition of Shield of Sparrows with the signed edition that people were going crazy for. Apparently it was selling out. That's crazy that it's happening like that, but it's also available on Kindle Unlimited, and I think Direbound is also available on Kindle Unlimited. I'm really excited to read it. I don't know anything about it, and I'm excited to see how she does it because since she's mainly a contemporary romance author, I would like to see how she does romantasy, and if she does like the romance well, the romantasy books, I might consider picking up her contemporary romance. It's sort of similar to Rebecca Yarros, how she wrote contemporary romance first and then she went into romantasy, but I am so excited for these books and I am excited to see what all the fuss is about because that's all I've been hearing every day for the past like month about these books. Hopefully I'll come out with some new favorites. Hope they don't disappoint. That's all I'm hoping for. But let's get started with Direbound. So Direbound follows a character named Marin. Marin is sort of a part of like the impoverished neighborhood, and there's something going on in her town where a group called the Nabbers who are going around stealing children. Marin is a street fighter. That's how she makes her money mainly. I like the fact that she's not like some typical FMCs where they're tiny and all of that. They describe her as tall, strong, and muscular. That's where we're at right now. Let's continue on reading with this. Okay, so I did get a little bit further in direbound. Not that much, maybe like 40 pages. And I'm currently on chapter 28. So far my thoughts is that it is very Fourth Wing-esque, because instead of the dragons that you bond with and you find to connect with, you instead connect with the direwolves. And this direwolf that she connects with kind of chooses Marin without her choice. And right now they're trying to figure out how to bond with each other. It kind of irritated me in the beginning at the first 100 pages because Marin just reads very young, which is understandable because since she's 23, she comes from a background where she has to basically take care of her mom and her sister because she's the only one capable to do it, and it basically fell on her shoulders. But the way she is kind of like jaded about the world and very kind of like sort of prejudiced against like the way the bonded are, she can understand why it would be an honor to bond with direwolves. And she just read very young, and everything, all the information that is in this book, it kind of we find out as the character finds out. So as soon as Marin finds out something, we find out something. I like the aspect of the world where it's a training sequence, it's like the trials aspect, because there are multiple trials you have to go through in order to be fully bonded with your direwolf. Her direwolf's kind of giving her trouble and not helping her out at all because of some things that happened when they first bonded. Marin can't figure out why the direwolf is just not helping her out, and she just can't seem to communicate with her direwolf. I don't like the fact that she won't really truly do anything and change her ways. She thinks she's completely doing everything that she can, but she's not. She's being stubborn and she refuses to take on anyone's help. Seeing from her perspective is just very, very immature. I'm hoping she does grow a lot more tolerable. She is so far to me. She's reading like DM to me from Spark of the Everflame. DM did some crazy actions that I cannot get behind and that infuriated me. I'm hoping that Marin gets better because I do like the world a lot. I'm liking the feelings that we get for the direwolves and how they are their own pack. I mentioned before that she has a love interest back home. There's a couple things that were annoying me because he used to call her Kitten. That's his nickname for her, which I felt was like so weird. I just don't like that nickname. I found it so cringe. There is some sort of like instructor at the school she finds attractive, and he's tattooed and he's tall. I am liking it so far. I really am. I like the world. I like the plot that it's going, and there's also a mystery happening at the castle too that we're slowly finding out. But I'll come back when I have more updates on this book, and hopefully I will finish it within the next couple of days or two, because this book is actually pretty long. It is 580 pages, so it is very long. We'll see when I actually will finish it. It does read really fast-paced. I just want to know what happens next, so it's very unputdownable, and I'm excited to see what happens in the end because I heard it ends like in a major twist. Stay tuned for like when I am further into the book. Oh gosh, if I have to read one more spicy scene between these two, I just don't like it. So I'm back with a reading update, and I did finish Direbound by Sable Sorenson, and I had so much fun with this. I gave this a 4.5 stars. I noticed a lot of people have been giving 5 stars, but it just wasn't a complete 5 stars to me. Let me tell you overall what I thought about this book. It's very Fourth Wing in the sense that people come and have to connect with direwolves, and it's the same sense as writers are bonded with their dragons, and these ones, they are bonded with their direwolves. Our main character Marin, she went through the mountains and the whole entire like ritual to get to her direwolf, but in the end she didn't want to be bonded with a direwolf because all she wanted to do was to go help and find her sister. That was her main goal. Her whole entire spiel was just to be motivated to get through this whole entire training session and to be bonded with her direwolf so that she can use her direwolf to get to the front lines to get to her sister. But she didn't understand the whole entire want or the whole entire entire aspect of being bonded to a direwolf. She completely disregarded everything that her direwolf was feeling, so she didn't understand how important the bond is to these people, because she didn't grow up wanting to be bonded with direwolves. She didn't grow up in like the more elite status where they have more comfortable means and the money to be able to train their kids as bonded to direwolves, because I guess like the people who are bonded to direwolves have more privilege. They are privileged to live in the higher and richer part of society, whereas Marin and her people are made to live in their more impoverished lifestyle. So when she gets to the school or the training area, she has to unlearn a lot of the things that she has known all her years, because she doesn't know how important it is to train your bond with your direwolf, and she goes through a lot of lessons and everything like that. And there's also Broody, main character, who happens to be her instructor, and he is straight up her enemy. To her perspective at least, kind of bullies her. He doesn't like give her any leniency. He in fact calls her weak, and there's sort of like a twist at the end as well. You get to understand more of like a lot of the things that are happening in her world at the last 100 pages. And there is sort of, I can't really say a love triangle, because there is a main love interest throughout the majority of the book. I am not a fan of this certain love interest, but it does take majority of the place in this book. There are some spicy scenes in here, but in all honesty, I kind of like skipped it a little bit, because since I didn't like the couple that the spicy scenes were about. I don't think we got the sense of like maybe the other secondary character until the last part of the book. I love this book. It was very hard to put down. I was addicted from the start. Although the first 100 pages, when we were like going through the motions of Marin after she finds that her sister is gone, and she goes through the whole entire army recruit, and then she goes through the whole entire thing with her not bonding with a direwolf, she has a lot of prejudices against like the people who are bonded. She just thinks they're super privileged, and anyone who is wanting to be bonded is very insane to even want to be able to be bonded to a direwolf. But she doesn't understand there's certain privileges that could probably help out her family, and she has to be shown through her like bond with her direwolf that she is very wrong in a lot of the ways that she's thinking, but she's very stubborn about it. A lot of people have to honestly force her to get help from her other instructors and her other like friends, because there's actually nice people who are willing to help her. There are friends that she meets who helped her like climb the mountain to get to the top, and they understood her motivation behind it, but they still wanted her to succeed and go up there, and she couldn't understand like reaching out to them and the meaning it is to be a part of a pack, because it's honestly is what they refer to the majority of the book, that being a part of a pack is the most important thing. And there's a big found family that she finds in here that I absolutely love. She was giving me a lot of DM vibes from Spark of the Everflame, how she makes like very impulsive, very dumb decisions at the start, and also maybe throughout the book as well, because she doesn't see past the bigger picture. I love the direwolf so much. Her direwolf Anasa gave me a lot of like Terran humor. I loved it a lot. Of course it had a lot of flaws. Of course a lot of things were very predictable. Some of the plot twists at the end I saw from a mile away. I figured they were coming, and I enjoyed it nonetheless, and I was sat for it, and I binged this book over like 2 to 3 days, and it's almost a 600-page book, so it's crazy that I was able to binge it that quickly, sort of, because usually it takes me a little bit longer to read longer books like this, because this one's almost 600 pages. It shows you how much I enjoyed this book. It's not innovative whatsoever. It's not completely new. I think the new unique part was the actual bonding of the direwolves, and also the male main character who is the instructor. He is giving me a lot of Luther vibes. He is the most like, it's just, yeah, you have to read it to understand what I'm saying. I appreciate where the story is going so far. I would say that if you are still suffering from an Onyx Storm hangover, I think this would be a perfect cure, because it gives you like the same sense of like being bonded to like a creature, yet it's not similar. This one's just about the direwolves, and I am so excited for the second book. I think the second book is slated to come out in July. I'm so excited that it's not gonna take forever to come out, because I need to know what happens next. Highly recommend if you're just looking for a good time, and I'm very happy that I had a positive experience with this book. But moving on to my next book that I'm gonna read, and that's going to be Silver Elite. I did start it already. I'm at not even that far, like 50 pages, chapter 5. This book has been going around so much around Bookstagram, BookTok. I guess a lot of the creators that I follow got a arc for this book maybe a month or two ago, and there was so much buzz buzz going around about it, and it officially released, and of course I had to pick it up. If I hear something being raved about online, I have to pick it up. Everyone's calling this the next Fourth Wing. I think this is more dystopian romance. I don't think it's a fantasy romance, at least from what I've been hearing, but dystopian romance, and this follows a character named Ren Darling. I don't know much about it because I wanted to go in blind. I wanted to form my own opinions about it, so I've had really watched a lot of reviews on it, and she is a mod. Mods are the ones who have psychic abilities, and unfortunately in this world they are ousted and made to be executed, and also are sort of seen as the infected and the disease of their world, and they are made to keep hidden. She and her uncle live on the ranch outside of town, and unfortunately because of a certain situation that happened at the beginning of the book, her uncle got taken away because she kind of like put a target on her back, and her uncle's basically protecting her. And that's where we are so far. Her uncle just got taken away, and I'm slowly learning more about the world. They're divided between mods and then primes, so I guess they're not the ones who have anything. There's a thing called the Uprising, where it's a combination of primes and mods who are trying to basically infiltrate the government to see if they can do something about the mods constantly getting like taken away. There's no one really to trust. There are some people who actually start betraying their own people and their own family members when they're found out to be a mod, because they don't want to be implicated in dealing with that. And I don't know if they get incentives or not by turning people in, which I would assume they do, or they're just very motivated people who want to turn in their actual people because they don't want to be caught with the likes of the mods. And from what I'm seeing is that the abilities are very telepathic and everything, and she's able to communicate with other mods through like telepathic means through her brain. She's actually a very strong mod. She's like the strongest, and I guess she has a different ability where she's able to not only telepathically speak to people through her mind, which all the mods are able to do. I guess they're able to find like pathways into people's minds if they're able to learn how to do it, and they're able to communicate that way. When you use your ability in this world, they're like black, they're like veins on your arms that turn silver when you're using your abilities. A lot of the mods have to wear like long sleeves. But that's all I've gotten so far, and I will continue once I have more updates to read, and I'm really hoping I like this book because of how hyped it is right now. It's like being compared to, if you like the world of Divergent, you would love Silver Elite. I do have some high expectations on this because of how much it was marketed online, so hopefully I like it. So it's currently Tuesday, and I have an update for Silver Elite, and I am about 200 pages in, and this book has about 511 pages. I hate to say it, but I'm a little bit bored. We are following Ren Darlington's like whole journey in the whole command, because she's basically forced into it. She was given the option of going to labor camp, but they were kind of like just giving her the illusion of choice, so they said no, it's either she has to stay in the command or she goes back to the cell block, and so she's gonna be trapped in there for however long that they want her in there. And now she has to attend this sort of like military academy, military school called Silver Block. I think that's what it's called. But the Silver Block are the soldiers trained to be a part of the Silver Elite. And the Silver Elite are the ones who are like the top dogs. They're literally the highest people to be on the army. And then there's other groups such as like the Copper, which are the ones who are just made to guard certain like parts of the city. Everyone's like sequestered to different areas. They're like called wards. She's from Ward E, I think. And that's where it's all like open space, where it's more country. country, and she's a part of a rancher family, which is technically what the cover was, to cover up for her uncle being on the run from the commandment. And now she's stuck in the commandment, and she has to hide the fact that she's a mod, and thankfully she can't show her silver blood in her veins, which is the telling sign of someone being a mod. I'm so bored. I hate to say that, like, I'm bored because, like, I was so looking forward to this book, especially with how much buzz is getting online, how much has been marketed online, how much buzz is getting from everyone. There's literally no bad reviews about this book, at least from what I've seen. Everyone's giving this as 5 stars. There's a few of my favorite creators giving these 5 stars because they were given arcs for it, and I'm just not seeing how it's getting such high praise, because from the moment that she entered into the Silver Block or the Academy, she has been like trying to escape, and that's all she's been doing. There's not been any plot whatsoever besides her interactions with Cross, and then she of course realizes that he's the general's son. And there's also this connection that she has with a random stranger who they tap into each other's like connections once in a while through their telepathic communications, and they don't know who the other is. They have nicknames for each other. The person that she's talking to nicknamed Wolf, and then her nickname is Daisy. So like they slowly tap into each other's like minds all the time. She is interacting with a lot of the people in the Silver Block. She's making friends. There's a person named Liddy that she makes friends with automatically when they sit down next to each other. I guess they share the same workspace, and Liddy's a lot like a very naive, by the book person. Ren is trying not to make friends in this area because all of the people that are trying to be a part of the commandment are her enemies, because they're the ones who are going to be basically hunting her and her people down and the rest of the mods. And she doesn't agree with this whatsoever because she's been treated like a pariah her whole entire life, all the mods, and she just is filled with disdain for all these people. So she's basically faking to be friends with them, but slowly of course she's starting to slowly care about these people. And the thing is that I'm really getting bothered by the interactions she has with some of these people is that it's very surface level. They speak like they're in high school when they're supposed to be like in their 20s, which I understand. They're still barely away from their teenage years, so of course they're still trying to mature and everything. But with like the hard stuff that is going on in their world, I was expecting more of a mature female main character, but her interactions are very kind of like immature. And also her interactions with Cross, I thought they would be deeper, a little bit deeper than this, but that one is still very surface level to me. It's 200 pages in, and all the interactions they've had with each other have been very lust forward. She's always commenting on how beautiful his face is, how she finds him so attractive, and how yes, she finds him as his enemy, but I can't help but being so attracted to him, which is like every like typical FMC in like a lot of these fantasy books. Like I said, there's been nothing that's been happening at all. She's tried to escape a few times because obviously she doesn't want to be there, but she's not being smart about it. She's very impulsive about everything. She'll directly disobey a lot of things, and she won't like analyze the situation first. She won't think about it. She won't do like any tactical things to change the situation. She'll all of a sudden have an idea and just do it right away. And to kind of like make matters worse for her, she's trying to hope that they would kick her out if she performs poorly, and she's purposely performing poorly because obviously she doesn't want attention drawn to her, and Cross is already suspicious of her, and she's already doing like stupid things to like make sure that she doesn't stand out, which is making her stand out more. And it's also she's interacting with other males in this command too besides Cross. She's also flirting with them, and every single interaction she has with like majority of the males is always sort of very lust forward. I'm waiting for the plot to move forward because the politics is actually very interesting. She brings up a lot of the things that she's had to experience because she's a mod, and the ways people have been treating her. I want to know more about what Cross's like whole entire position is in this whole entire situation. I want to see what he actually thinks of everything, because I feel like he might be putting up a front, at least what I'm feeling right now about the whole situation, because he has to, because he is of course the general's son. I want something more to happen in this book. At this point I'm really bored, so hopefully things get better, but otherwise I don't know if this is going to get a high rating from me, which is very disappointing, but I'll keep reading.
We need to know what their current objectives are. Copy that. The elite war room is dimly lit, of course, since windows play no role in the space. A long table...
You forgot. So I just finished Silver Elite. I have a lot of thoughts. There were parts of the book that I did enjoy. I thought the dystopian part of it was interesting when they brought up the discourse between the two sides, between the mods and the primes. Ren is a part of like the mods and everything, and she wants to join the uprising, but unfortunately her uncle would just not allow her to join because he felt that it was just too dangerous, which I totally understand, because if he basically promised her parents that he would take care of her and he would make sure that to keep her safe, and there was a bunch of things that he didn't want her to do. She's like the most powerful mod. She has like 4 abilities or something. She's telepathic, she can read people's minds, she can project images to other mods. The 4th one that's like the most rare and most dangerous is that she is an insider, and insiders are able to basically control someone's mind and force them to do something that she wants them to do, but she can't really control it. It just happens randomly. When I said in my earlier update, this is just the first 200 pages are very boring, how it was just literally the day-to-day aspect of what happens when she's attending the military academy. There's a lot of classes that she has to attend to, you know, basically learn the lingo of like military strategies, reading maps, everything like that. And also they go on missions. And they learn how to work together as a team. Of course, there's like a lot of like bad apples in this group because a lot of them are like inherently evil, and you see more and more in this military academy how people were basically conditioned when they're growing up to hate the mods. And there's a lot of like good commentary that I felt like would have been expanded more in the dystopian world of this, and this is what I was really excited about. And that's pretty much it. The love story, or like the relationship between Cross and Ren, the moment they met was very lust forward. They got caught up in this situation where she randomly runs into him, but obviously she doesn't really know it's him at first, and they run into each other and they have like an instant attraction, and that's what they see from each other every time that they see each other. She says that, no, he's my enemy, no, he's the son of the general who's in charge of trying to get my people eradicated, but he's hot. That's the main thing that I got from her the whole time. She is so reckless. She ran into things and made choices that was trying to, you know, get her out of the situation and solution, but instead of like doing it in the more intelligent and smart way, she made it where it was just digging a deeper and deeper and deeper hole. Every single lie that she told, she just found herself deeper in that hole. Kept thinking that, oh, it's gonna turn out well every single time she told a lie. Guess what? It didn't. I felt like it was more of a reality show of people attending a military academy that was set in a dystopian world. I wanted more from this because the dystopian world was actually built up really well. I wanted to know more about the mod powers. I wanted to know about their history, and then also the relationship she had with like the other mods and the struggles they had, and I wanted to connect more with them. But it was just following her life in the military academy while she was lusting after all these people, and instead of like staying strong to fight with like the uprising, try to prove to them that she can help them out, even though like they were saying that they weren't gonna rescue her from the military school. Instead of trying to prove herself, she kept getting distracted by attractive males, and which is fine. I'm not judgy about that, not at all. Like, if she wants to get hers, girl, get yours, whatever, totally support all of that. But there's something more important than that. Like, girl, you're living in a dystopian world where anyone who ends up finding you can turn you in and get you killed. Your life is literally on the line, and you're in the most precarious place to be at that is filled with people who have been raised to hate you and your people. Like, she's realizing it, but it's not to the strength of how it would be if you were in a real dystopian world where everything is so scary. It's like she forgot about it the moment she would focus on an attractive male, and there's like 3 males in this book that she kind of like has like flirtations with, and it's just, it would take me out of the story a lot. Something serious would happen that like would finally pique my interest again. The next chapter, it turned into like frivolous things. I wanted more from this. I really did. It was so bad. It was like I'm reading a high school romance happening in the middle of dystopian worlds, and all I kept thinking was that the meme where it's like, Kim, there are people dying.
Kim, there's people that are dying.
Did I think it lived up to the hype? I don't think so. I think the marketing did the book really wrong because it should have stood out on its own. It shouldn't have been compared to Hunger Games. It shouldn't have been said to be the next Fourth Wing or the next Divergent or anything like that. It should have found a way to stand on its own. And of course, there's a lot of discourse happening around this book because like apparently Dani Francis is a pen name. Apparently there's people trying to dig into who it is, and I don't think that's right at all. I think if the person really wanted to stay anonymous, they should just leave it alone and just read it. But I have a feeling that as somebody who mainly writes romance, for sure, wanted to try their hand in a different genre of dystopian world, but you could tell that they're a romance author first and foremost. Because the romance, like I said, is very lusty. There was no depth between these two characters. Like, it just got spicy really, really fast. I barely saw them have a conversation with each other of like being friends, learning who they are to each other. All I saw between their interactions was them checking each other out and flirting with each other. I don't even know if I want to read the second book because I was bored. I was not interested in any of the characters. Yeah, it just wasn't for me. I'm sorry to those people who actually really love this book. I'm so happy for you that you love this book. I really wanted to like it, but this book will probably be a part of my most disappointing books in this year, and I will be moving on to a different book. So yeah, I'm done talking about this, and I'm so glad I'm done with it. Hello friends, it is currently the next day and I did start Shield and Sparrows, and I'm currently on chapter 20, page 168, and I'm actually really liking this. We follow a character named... How did I completely blank on her name? Her name is Odessa. Odessa is a princess, and she sort of is like the forgotten child, basically. She is the first child of the king, but unfortunately her mom passed away when she was a kid. Her dad ended up getting remarried, and they ended up having 2 other children, and there's a treaty that they have with the Tura kingdom. Like, Prince is set to marry her sister May. She is constantly told to stay out of the way. They sort of like give priority to May because she is the one who's betrothed to the prince of the Tura kingdom. But one day when her sister's betrothed comes to visit, he ends up announcing to the king that he wants to marry Odessa over May. So she ends up going to travel over the seas to Tura with her 2 ladies maids, and she ends up marrying the prince, and there's a guardian that is sort of like the broody one. Since the beginning, since after they got married, they've been venturing on this journey over the seas to get to Tura. Because apparently Tura is like this big secret kingdom that is like really, really protected against other kingdoms because they don't want anyone infiltrating in this, and her dad sort of like tasked her to be a spy in the kingdom, and she's basically trying to do it to kind of gain favor with her father. And her father's been like very neglectful of her ever since her mom died. She's made to sort of like dye her hair brown because she naturally has curly red hair, and it's very reminiscent to her mom, and they make her wear these like gray dresses so she blends into the background, and that's what she was meant to do her whole entire life. She basically resigned herself to be the background, and now she's trying to gain his favor by being the spy, and she's trying to get used to these people because they're very secretive around her, which is very fair because they don't trust her. They don't want any of the secrets of their kingdom being laid out to them, and she's been mainly interacting with the guardian, which I still don't know his name. She keeps referring to him as the guardian. He's been the one protecting the whole entire group as they've been traveling through overseas and through like treacherous forests and everything, because there's monsters everywhere in this area. I am loving the atmosphere of it. It's very, very fantasy forward. There's been like little sprinkles of like bantering and flirting here and there with the male main character, and it's been a fun good time so far. It's been a lot of world building because of course it has to build a world around the place that she just left, her home, and it's a lot of world building going forward to where she is going to as well. And I'm loving this new place they're in because they just came across this like foresty area with sort of like tree houses and everything. There's like people living everywhere, and the interaction she has with like the male main character I actually really like, and I found myself like really like giggling last night when I was reading this. It's like a 515 page book. I am trying to finish it today, but I doubt it. I'm only in 168, but I'm hoping to finish this within the next couple of days because I am really excited to read it. I'm enjoying it. I'm excited to see how it's going to unfold and what my thoughts are on the female main character so far. I think she's very young. She's 23 years old and she's been kind of sheltered her whole entire life. She's lived on the coast with her family. She is like trying to be stronger, but she's very naive. She not only knows what she's been taught and only knows like all the stuff that her dad basically drilled into her the last 24 hours before she left. So she doesn't know anything about the new kingdom she's going to. She's not as cunning or as vicious as her other sister is. Yeah, I'm really liking it so far. I'm liking it because the world feels very lush. I think it's going to be a slow burn. I like that it's going to be a slow burn because based on my previous read where it was very lusty, I wanted something that was slow burn and more fantasy forward, and I'm like really interested to see more of the monsters, and I hope she gets to at least get stronger. That is my thought so far, and I will hopefully come back with another update by the time I finish this book or if I have more things to say. So I did want to do a final update. I did end up finishing Shield of Sparrows. I absolutely love this one. I got so into the world and I love the fantasy aspect of this world. It's much more fantasy forward than the other books that I read. This one has like a romance that is set in the fantasy world where it's, if you know The Witcher, you would understand this book a lot. It's basically them traversing through this new country that Odessa has never been to before, get to the goal of unearthing this country's secret so that she can relay it back to her dad, because her dad needs something from the capital of the kingdom. But unfortunately, they know that she's the Sparrow and she's from the Quintus kingdom, and they're not going to freely give the knowledge to her of this like important capital. It's like every single time that she speaks to anybody in this world that is a Turan, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, and they are like basically closed-mouthed to her. They walk away from her every single time she asks about this capital city, and she has asked the guardian and also the prince if she will ever be able to go to the city of Elysaria. Every single time they either avoid the question or they've told her before that they just don't trust her enough for this secret. So I absolutely love this story. I thought the monsters were great. If you look on Devney Perry's Instagram, she has some art that depicts the monsters in this book, and I absolutely love that she put that up because it gave a better visual in my head, because since there were so many monsters running around this whole entire world, it was harder to picture them a little bit because they were like similar to creatures that we already know, like tigers and like some bears, but then they have like different features on them. There's a whole entire mystery surrounding these animals because they keep going around attacking villages and people who are not necessarily provoking them, which is out of their nature apparently. That yes, they are known to be vicious, if only if they are provoked. So they have to discover the mystery around surrounding these monsters, and there's a very big slow burn in this book. It got a little bit slow at the middle of it. There was a point where it just kind of stopped the action, whereas like the first quarter or maybe half of the book, they're traversing through the land of Turan and they're being attacked by all these monsters left and right, and they have to sleep in certain areas and like surround themselves in like fire pits or bonfires so that they avoid certain like animals who prowl at night. I did like the romance. I love slow burns, so I absolutely love the slow burn of this male main character and the female main character. I did predict the big twist at the end. Like, it wasn't the big twist, I predicted the first twist. I knew from the beginning of the page that twist was coming. I guessed it. I don't know if it's because I read so many romantasies, but there are a few things that like were revealed that I didn't get a sense of whatsoever. The only big problem I had was like I said, it was kind of slow at the middle of the book. I wish that were some of the revelations that we got in the end of the book was like dispersed more equally throughout the middle of the book, because then that would have like fixed the pacing issue that I had with it. That being said, I love the world, and also the female main character. She kind of annoyed me at the beginning because of how naive she was. The writing in the book is good. It's just that there's so many questions that she puts into the actual paragraphs of the books, but I got a little bit, irritated by that. There were so many questions. Like the female main character would ask questions in her head constantly, and also she would pester the other characters with questions, even though she knew that she was not trustworthy. So I just didn't like that, but I still enjoyed it nonetheless, and I cannot wait for book 2 because I feel like book 2 is gonna go crazy, and there's gonna be a lot more romance in this book. And also this was spicy. It wasn't that bad. It was only like maybe 1 or 2 scenes in the end of the book because of like the slow burn and everything, but I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I can't wait for the second book to come out. I gave this a 4.5. I will most likely probably give the second book a 5 stars because I see where it's going now, so I'm very, very, very excited to see what's gonna happen next in this book. And the cliffhanger in this book was crazy. I could not put this book down, and I highly recommend. So let's do a wrap up of all the books that I read and see if it's worth the hype or not. So I first read Direbound. I had so much fun with this book, and I love the romance that we get in the end. And I know a lot of people are sort of like comparing this to Fourth Wing, where it's direwolves instead of dragons, but I got more of a sense of Spark of the Everflame because the male main character reminded me of Luther from Spark of the Everflame. And so I ended up giving this book a 4.5 stars just because some of the actions that the female main character did in this book kind of irritated me a lot, and how she was so ignorant of a lot of things. And I know it's more of like a character development thing where everything starts crashing down around her, and that's when she starts discovering the truth of everything. So I absolutely had so much fun with this, and this book I would highly recommend, and I can't wait to read the next book. And I had such a rough time with this book, guys. I did not like the female main character. She had zero character growth. I could see why people like this book, and especially if you're like in a dystopian drought, I could see why people like this book and how it was hyped up. I just think that the marketing of this book was done really poorly. I don't like it when books are trying to ride on the hype of another book by comparing itself to that book. Like this book was compared to Hunger Games and Divergent. I didn't feel that whatsoever. The fact that it tried to compare itself to Hunger Games, like no, because Katniss would never. I just thought it was insta-lovey. The female main character really annoyed me. She kept digging herself into a deeper hole, and how the ending kind of like just came out of nowhere. It just was rushed to actually remind you that it was still a dystopian book, and the amount of eye rolls I had in this book was crazy. I couldn't stand the male main character. I thought he had nothing going for him. This was like described as slow burn. This was not slow burn. This was insta-lusty. Incredibly insta-lusty, and I could not for the life of me root for the main couple. They were honestly annoying, to be honest. The main character, I feel like she hopefully will grow in the second book, but I have zero interest on picking up the second book. This was not it for me. I thought this book was terribly overhyped. The marketing was terrible for this book. I honestly thought that if it just came out and if they had just let like the word of mouth spread for this book naturally instead of trying to, compare it to Hunger Games or Divergent, then maybe it would have stood on its own, and a lot of people wouldn't have gone into this with such high expectations like I did. It was my fault that I went into high expectations because I'm easy to please. I know that some books like are not great for people because they want more literary stuff in it, but I like having a good time in a book, and this book I did not have a fun time. I thought it had such potential. The bones was laid out there, but the execution was terrible. I thought the characters were terrible, and then the only person I felt like I liked was Kane, and I definitely like Kane way better than Cross. Cross was just there. He didn't add anything to the plot of the story, and I felt like he was just there to clear up a lot of the messes that Ren made. I ended up deciding that I'm going to give this book a 2.5 stars. It was not my cup of tea whatsoever. I doubt I'll be continuing the series. This book, I absolutely love Shield of Sparrows. I highly recommend picking this book. I think this book was way better executed than Silver Elite was. It still had its problems, don't get me wrong. This book still had its problems, but I honestly felt like the slow burn was so much better in this book. The romance was so much better. I love the world and the monsters that you come across, and I liked how they described the monsters and the different ways you can hunt and kill them. And the only problem I really had was like maybe some of the writing choices and also the pacing of this book, but otherwise such a good book. 4.5 stars. Those are my opinions accoutrements of all the hype books that I read this week. I am filming this on a Monday. I will get this out as soon as I finish editing it, but reading vlogs always take me a little bit longer to edit because there's so many clips I have to do. But I hope y'all enjoyed. Let me know in the comments if you had the same opinions as me for the books I read, or if you had opposite opinions of me. I like having discussions with everyone on what they thought. And just remember that reading is subjective, and the feelings I had for these books might not be the same as yours, and that's great. So thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you want to see more. It really does help my channel a lot, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.
Even if you tried, you wouldn't understand.